Okay. Okay. Hey, what's up, everybody? Um, got some, got some stuff on my mind. Oh, boy, the brain is fascinating. Like, my brain is constantly thinking of just all types of stuff. It's very easy to get wrapped up in the uh, in the day to day, and then you like, it's just not really something I think of often because I'm always trying to really get the most out of things as far as, showing gratitude for my life, but I'm kind of setting a preface for what I'm about to say. I'm not really trying to make a point here. I'm just saying things that come into my head, but it's like, you know, sometimes it might be necessary, but, you get wrapped up in the day to day. And then it's like, everything means so much to you. And I think that, it, you know, again, everything has contradictions. So I was about to say something like, it might be good for like parents or even schools if they're doing the right thing to try to install a strong sense of gratitude and purpose. Some people say that, you know, everybody might not have a purpose, but I mean, you're alive, you're living, so that's a purpose in itself. But anyway, I want to make this short because, all right, let me just say what I want to say. But like, I just don't ever want something to get taken the wrong way. But it's not like anybody's really. It's not like I have an audience. It's really just my diary here. But it's just like, and again, I'm not trying to. I don't. You know. I don't. Somebody might say this is like a loser's mindset. I don't know. It could be a champion's mindset. But it's just like just to take into consideration, which I can understand if some people might not think like that because it's like, why are you like, are you really, or why are you trying to take so much into consideration things that, you know, like things that you're not actively living in its existence? So, like, in other words, what I'm saying is people, not all, but some people take such serious chances, such serious risk for whatever reason. Sometimes they don't even have to have a reason, just they could just love to get the thrills. But it's like, you know, again, you can get so wrapped up into whatever it is, business, relationship, your health, whatever. And it's like, well, I guess, maybe religion is an exception here, but it's like, you know, for most people listening to this, like 80 years ago, which is a long time, I guess, but it's not really that long. Obviously, when you compare it to the span of the human race existence, but it's like 80 years ago, you wasn't here. 80 years from now, good chance, you know. So it's like, it's like, as long as you're not doing anything too reckless, I totally understand why people say, obviously, in a capitalist society, they say you should concentrate on what matters, like, again, it's all opinion based. I have the beholder, but that's like, like they say stuff like, concentrate on what makes your life better, like money, having options, education, da da da, your health, da da da, especially your health, right? Because sometimes a lot of that stuff you can't get back, right? And of course, obviously serve God, be in service of God, stay in prayer. But it's so common when people, get wrapped up in it. It's like, okay, for example, this is something that's really huge. I'm not trying to downplay it, but let's take something like which a lot of people sometimes get crushed. Some elevate, but sometimes, just look at the whole concept of divorce, right? It's like, again, your money could get drained. I totally get it. But it's just like, again, not, all within reason. But I'm just saying, like, if you're like 40, 50 years old, you get a divorce. I understand. It's a huge change for some people. Money gets drained. I understand. Sometimes some people lie on you, make you look like you're something you're not. But and no buts. I mean, I can understand. But it's just amazing how. And again, I get it. It's easier said than done. So maybe this whole thing is pointless. What I'm saying, but it's like if you're 40, 50, even in your 30s, and you're going through a divorce, it's just like kind of a. And this is why therapy could be important because your family, if they're on your side, they might just be like, "Oh yeah, that person was no good," or yeah. So they could potentially add more fuel to the fire, or make it more difficult to move on by keep talking about it, or just look at you in a different way, whether it be in sorrow or whatever. But it's like, why don't people just look at a divorce like, okay, all within reason and trying to move on as quick as possible. Same thing with a job. Like, just don't be bitter. If something goes wrong and you have to get a new job, just do it as quick as possible because think about it. It's like, and again, all within reason, I understand it's a lot easier said than done, but it's like, and I didn't even know I was going to get into this, but it's like the fact that if 80 years ago you wasn't here and in 80 years into the future, you might not be fill in the blank. It's like, why slow down for long periods amount of time? Obviously, you might not be able to control your emotions that well, or maybe you got shocked, you didn't see it coming. I get it, but it's just like that it's so weird, right? Because you don't really like people can't really tell you like there's no therapy, there's no there's really not much of a mentor, or there's not really much guidance you can go to for people who have passed on, right? So it's just kind of like it's hard to really think of the concept of passing on because you have no one to really like tell you the show you the ropes of that, right? Like people just pass on and that's it. As far as you can't really like talk to them again or ask them advice. So it's like, why do people like? What I'm just trying to say is again, a lot easier said than done. I can't say why because the reasons are probably obvious for a lot of things. I'm just saying, like, one. All I would say is this. This is okay. I'll put it like this because I don't want to be a hypocrite. 'Cause I understand why people do it, but I'm just saying I will totally understand if like an alien would come down and say, why do you humans like to dwell on things when you don't got that much time? Like if your life isn't that long, like just the concept should always be moving on to the best version or moving on to whatever makes you happy, moving on to whatever best serves you, moving on to, gratitude, charity, even if it's coming from the heart and not just off some tax BS, but just helping the homeless. Like you don't gotta fill out a form, just helping people out. It's just like why do more people just dive into that, you would think, right? Because you don't really got that much time. Why even like I don't care if you have three divorces. It's like like what like even if I know it's easy to say to them, but it's like even if you lose your house, it's like you should always kind of. I'm just surprised that you like more people don't have this mindset and actively. Like I don't understand we're emotional, but I'm saying I be it's like people like I'm just saying like every day it's really priceless. Like it's so special every day of your life, every single day, every minute, because it's like especially especially if you know it's limited, right? Like if like that if you look at, a lot of people obviously who came before you, like you don't like, like you never know how long you have. So it's just I'm just it's just again, I guess it's one of those things, maybe conditioning. But I guess I'm just a little. And again, I didn't even know I was going to speak about this, but it's kind of fascinating how people just don't. And again, I get it. I've been there. I've been there totally, so I get it. It's just wow. It's like wow. Why? Again, I don't want to ask why because again, it's just we're humans. We're not conditioned to move on in the way some other people are, and it could be inside your DNA, right? Like this whole type of gene editing where they can tweak the sympathetic uh, gene in you, and then they can make. And then some people are said to be, which is probably not true, but some people are said to be more, better in business if they can just be less, if they could be more heartless and all that. I'm not calling for any of that. Just like wow, like things happen, and I get it. I'm just saying it. Things happen to people, and sometimes they fall in a rut. And most of the time, I would think that they do get out of it, but it's like some people could take years, and it's just like it's like I think it would help. I think it would help them if somebody really put it to them, like, listen, you can't take none of this stuff with you. Like you can't even take your marriage with you. Can't take your kids with you. Can't take your money, your jewelry. You can't take your health with you, right? It's like you got a certain amount of time. Don't dwell too much on anything. Try to do the best you can. And what I mean by dwell, I don't mean like be reckless and don't think about things before you do them. I mean dwell as in, if something happens, just try to, within good reason and within good intelligence, try to just get, back to being the best version of yourself, back into, creation. Like don't keep tripping over what was lost. Obviously try to see, if you can get it back and if you think it's worth it, sure. If you can learn off it, then yeah, you might want to dwell off the past so you can learn, see where you went wrong, sure. But what I'm saying is you don't want to be doing things that doesn't serve you, especially if you're like in a stagnated state, because it's like at the end of the day, I mean, it's like at the end of the day, it's like like time is going, and it's just like you know, it's like 80 years ago, and you already know 80 years in the past, and then you know 80 years into the future. It's just like you have this window of time, like and again, I know I understand. Hey, I'm gonna wrap this up. I'm just saying because I know it's easier said than done. So maybe this thing is pointless. It's just all I'm saying is just I'm just so surprised how I guess sometimes how the human race, I don't know, because I don't want to be a hypocrite. I understand why people get caught up in things. I guess it's just one of those things where I guess you would think that people would instantly start to snap out of it because they go, okay, wait a minute, you know, I don't, like every day is important, you know. So let me just move on as quick as possible because you can't get this time back. That's all I'm saying. It's just like it's kind of one of those things where it's like I guess it's due to certain human conditioning that sometimes people get caught up and they get stuck in a certain mode, or it's hard for them to get over things and hard to let it go. I know I've been there, and sometimes you think you're over things, but it pops back up. But I'm just saying, like it's like just the whole concept of it's so weird. Not weird, but it's like this life, like all of a sudden you're just here and you're trying to make the best of it. You're trying to make sense of it. It's like I'm just here. Such a weird thing. It's such a weird thing. It's like did I in some way or fashion existed before I came here? How will I do it, how will I exist after here? Like after, your life here? Like what how would that existence be? What is that like? What is that? And you're just here and you're trying to make sense of it, trying to do the best, try to live the best life you can, even though most people know that traditionally, they might, there's, there comes a time where people pass on. It's like, you know that. And it's just, listen, I'm going to wrap this up. It's really out there. And then, especially when you think about some of the people who are not around anymore, and it's like, oh, yeah, I kind of have to like, it's not that you forgot about them, but it's like, oh, yeah, yeah, in my past couple of years, yeah, this person was somewhat involved in my life. And now they're, not only are they not involved in my life like the way they once was, but they're gone. So it's just like how can your brain interpret that? In a real sense when you have no experience of it. Anyway, it's not really a rabbit hole type of thing, and I can understand if that's the way it sounds or it feels. It's just one of those things where you think people would just be like, okay, gotta move on. I gotta move on because it's not like you're trying to be greedy and like try to like, oh, be so selfish about your life. Nah, it's just the fact that it's like, you know, it's like it's like, you realize it one of those days when you look in the mirror, you go, oh yeah, you know? Yeah. Peace.